victory at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Premier League. And the fact is that a night that City had to emerge victorious, they have done so. Yes, there were twists and turns along the way, some brilliant goalkeeping from Ortega, but when we needed it, who was there? Erling Haaland. De Bruyne with the assist for the first, of course it was. Doku brought down in the first minute of added time, and Haaland tucked away the penalty. That Son's one-on-one with Ortega might be reflected upon as one of the key moments of the season, because had it gone in, who knows what might have happened. It didn't, and City have won by 2-0, and they have one hand on the Premier League trophy, and a place in history beckons. Tottenham 0, City 2. Well, let's go back to the studio. Nedum, Izzy and Natalie.
City have done it. They have beaten Spurs in the league at the London Stadium. One Premier League game left, one win, and City will win an unprecedented 4th Premier League in a row. I am ecstatically emotional right now. Nedum, how are you feeling?
Relieved. It's been a very stressful evening, but you know, in the end, this is what we sort of expected from them, to be able to get the result, and it just shows as well. It's not just about the outfielders. I think someone like Stefan Ortega coming on coming on off the bench is difficult. Coming on as a goalkeeper and facing some of those opportunities, because Spurs' 3 biggest chances came in that second half, and he saved every single one of them. So it just shows how much of a team effort it is. Yeah. Because obviously Erling will get the plaudits, but that clean sheet was massive.
Izzy, how are you feeling?
Oh, it's just incredible. Look at him. It's like he's had that face on him after each of his goals tonight. Erling Haaland, Nedum just made an excellent point, you know. Slipped under the radar a little bit.
Right, let's go pitch side straight away to, I imagine, an ecstatic effigy and Paul Dickoff.
Full time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Manchester City 2-0 winners. 1 game to go, and look what it means to our players.
Get in there! What a result, fantastic.
The game as a whole was a difficult one, but the deadlock was broken. De Bruyne to Erling Haaland. Just take a look at what it means to our players. You see Phil Foden, Rodri leading the cause, and the rest of our team as well coming over.
To a man, it's a special word for Stefan Ortega as well, by the way. Came on, was absolutely outstanding. Thought Bernardo Silva was brilliant, Akanji was brilliant. You know what, they're all brilliant.
Honestly, what a time to be a City fan. This feels like an absolutely huge step. The fans and the players celebrating together. Yeah. Ruben Diaz on his birthday. Loving life. I mean, well, 1 more to go, Paul.
1 more to go to create yet more history. But look at these fans. Just absolutely unbelievable. You know, talk about the best team in the land and all the world. We've got the best fans in the land and all the world.
The best fans in the land and all the world, indeed. They were absolutely magnificent. And they deserve this. 2 trips to London in a few days. The weather's all right, to be fair. It doesn't matter what the weather's like now, because this is massive, and you can see what it means to the players behind us.
They knew how important this was tonight. You know, they talked before the game about Spurs lying down for us and making it easy, not a chance. They made it so difficult, but this is why they're the champions. This is why they're the best. They find a way to win.
And just have a look over there. Jack Grealish giving his shirt like he always does. Erling and Kyle trying to get the fans. The fans really deserve this, Paul. They really, really deserve this moment, don't they?
Yes,
as we see,
look at
Kyle
that shirt.
trying to get his shirt
shirt's
off.
a bit tight, isn't it? But no, absolutely brilliant. You know, to a man, you know, Ederson was gutted coming off, Stefan comes on. But look, these fans deserve it. What a night they're going to have in London tonight. I might join them actually, FG. What are you up to?
Honestly, listen, Ruben's putting his shirt in as well now. It feels like a significant moment for these players, and they deserve everything.
They do, and look, they'll enjoy tonight, but they know that the job's not quite done yet. 1 big game at home, a record's unbelievable at home against West Ham, and the opportunity to win 4 Premier Leagues in a row. Never been done before.
4 Premier Leagues in a row, by the way, Paul just said. And as we sing, like only anyone else can't sing, champions again, ole ole. Let's head back to what will be a very, very happy studio.
We're going for a cup of tea and a slice of toast now.
Paul Paul Dickoff telling a stinking lie there. Thank you so much to FG and to Paul Dickoff. Unbelievable scenes. Look at the fans. I loved seeing the players celebrate as well. One game left. It is not done yet, but oh my goodness, does it feel close. So what an evening for Manchester City. Oh my gosh, I'm just... Take over for a minute, Nedum. I need to just take a deep breath.
Well, it was certainly not as smooth as we would have liked, but ultimately, you know, they did get the job done. There were a couple of bits of quality that ended up making the difference. I think the run from De Bruyne before playing the pass into Haaland, you know, that connection is telepathic at times. And then even the second goal itself, it was a good bit of play from Haaland to head it over to Phil. He was hit a ball which myself and Izzy thought wasn't the best of balls, but Doku showed his pace. Yeah. And when he got there, I think from how we saw that game panning out, we wanted a moment where one of the wingers could be one-on-one and be able to do something. And in fairness to him, he did. He drew the foul. Then there's the big Norwegian from the penalty spot in a big moment. So many people doubted him. Just slams it into the top corner. And at that point, even though there was 10 minutes to go, you know City have got enough players on the field to be able to manage that, and that's exactly what they did. But again, special shout-out to Ortega, because those two goals are just as important as that save that he made, in my opinion.
So many people doubted him, but nobody associated with this football club ever doubted him. Let's have a chat through the key moments from that second half. So it was 0-0 at half-time. We talked at half-time about what we wanted to see in the second half. We wanted to see a goal soon in the second half to settle those nerves a little bit, and we certainly got that. The 52nd minute, Erling Haaland scores an assist. Again, I've lost count how many assists Kevin De Bruyne has done to Erling Haaland now, and it was just a sensational piece of team play. Izzy, what did you make of the first goal?
Well, super clever. I mean, I was at half-time sort of wondering whether De Bruyne would be coming off. Not obviously was forced off with the injury, we think, but he just had an impact straight away in the second half. He probably should have scored with that turn and the shot that Vicario saved, and then it wasn't too long after the ball over the top. You mentioned it, which I agreed with, the timing of De Bruyne's run into the channel to then square it. How many times have we seen him in that position, whether it's Haaland on the end of it, Aguero in the pass, Bernardo, Foden, whoever is there to tap it in. It's just the way he puts it on a plate, the weight of the pass across the 6-yard box into that area between the centre-backs and the goalkeeper where they can't go for it. Fantastic finish from Haaland. I mean, the composure in that moment to be there, to hold his run and be there. And that set City on their way. But it was a bit scary at 1-0. It was. And then that second goal came off the back of exactly what the genius to my right said about the 1v1 wingers.
Bit of a reach, but I'll take it.
So City went 1-0 up, the first ever goal, Premier League goal at the London Stadium there. There were a couple of moments between that and the second goal that we want to talk about. A possible injury for Kevin De Bruyne. He went off, he took a sort of scrape down the back, possibly his Achilles, and then a nasty collision with Ederson, which ended up being sort of pivotal in the game. We didn't know what had happened, but you mentioned Ortega came on. First of all, what did you make of Ederson's reaction when he came off?
I think he's right to be disappointed, to be honest. I think as a player, and knowing the players that I've known, there are very few players who want to come off in a game. You know, and if somebody's advising you that you should come off, well, if you said that you're fine, you know, that's a big call. Because as you walk off, you're frustrated. Like, this is a big game. Ederson's earned the right to be in the sticks for City in this big game. And him going off, obviously, he's not happy with the decision. It's not something that we see very often. And he's kicked the tub in frustration, not at the manager, not at his teammates, but at this disappointment that he's had to leave the field. And I know some people try and turn that into something, but no doubt that will be addressed, that will be spoken to. And in some ways as well, it's not to, you know, try and talk your way out of it. You'd rather have people that care than people that don't. Yeah, and he cares about being on the field with his teammates going into battle. And obviously there was a big collision, but he thought he was okay. Whether or not he was, we don't know. But in some ways, you've got to try and look after your players at times.
I mean, because it looked like a nasty collision. I mean, we've not seen any replays which tells me that it was a nasty collision. I mean, there was speculation that he lost a tooth in it. He certainly jolted his head. So it feels like, you know, very precautionary from Pep, which obviously you've got to be careful with players. But when you've got Ortega on the bench, it is, you can take that precaution, and then Ortega is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, he's kept Manchester City in the game, arguably a title race, arguably. You know, he might have won them the league with those saves from Kulusevski and Son at a really crucial point in the game when Man City had gone 1-0 up. Son goes through, Kulusevski goes through, Ortega. But to come on, and the psychology around coming on and being ready to perform in big, big moments says a lot about the depth of the squad, his mentality, and also the decision-making that Pep's had to make. You know, he's got no doubts about taking his first goalkeeper off as a precaution and then putting his second goalkeeper on. A lot of managers in this league would maybe have had doubts about that because of the potential moments that were going to occur, but just goes to show what a keeper Ortega is, and he's without a doubt played a massive part in what could be a fourth league title.
It probably played into our hands there that he's, I mean, unfortunately for Edison, but Ortega's come off the bench a few times this season now. But to come off the bench, Nedum, and then to make, first of all, the Kulusevski save, but then talk us through the Son moment, because at that point I'm screaming no, with my head in my hands, thinking that the season was over.
Yeah, basically it's like a horror movie, isn't it? You know, you're thinking about the 10 months to lead to this point, and now everything could just burst because Son Heung-min is running through one-on-one. And he's one of the best finishers one-on-one in this league and in world football. So even though you know there's a goalie in there, you're sensing, well, this has happened to us before at Spurs, it's going to happen again. And I think what I liked about him was the fact that he was biding his time. He wasn't going to rush a decision to where Son could maybe go around him or something. And he would have seen video of Son and the stuff that he likes to go for, the finishes that he likes. But then even the fact that he stuck out a leg to try and save it, not every keeper would try and save a one-on-one that way. No. So at times, technique can give you better opportunity. I still think Son could have had a better finish, but the fact is he's saved it with his leg in a position that maybe some goalkeepers couldn't even get themselves into.
Interesting to say about the position of his leg, because I was watching the replay, and how low he got his leg to the surface of the floor meant that Son couldn't meg him. Because quite often in that situation, 1v1, the striker looks for the megs on the keeper because they come out with their legs open, their arms open to cover as much of the goal, and the nutmegs is on. Last split second, but because his leg is so low to the ground, the nutmeg's not actually on. So he completely denies Son all sight of goal, and he pulls off an unbelievable save.
Yeah.
I love that. I've not thought of that. Think about how flexible he was in terms of being able to.
He obviously does his yoga. He obviously does his yoga.
Yeah, him and Edson, you know, they do that. They have got that flexibility. I would say, you know, because he's one of my old teammates. I don't know if Scott Carson's got the same flexibility, but in fairness, as long as you got the first two, you're sweet, yeah.
What, 2 Champions League winning, Scott Carson?
Listen, it's true. He's true, but I've not seen how flexible he is. Maybe that's changed over the years. Maybe he's a supple leopard. Who knows?
Did you know Scott Carson made his debut for us 3 years ago today?
Didn't know that.
That's a nice mention.
Who's feeding you this info?
I just knew it off the top of my head.
Cool.
Okay, let's move on. So at that point, City is still in it. It's 1-0, but it's feeling a bit nervy. I mean, I was desperate for us to get hold of the ball and have a period of possession because it felt sort of nervy at that point. But we held on. And we held on, we made a few changes. So if we go back to that, just to give you both your flowers in terms of what you were talking about at half-time, made the changes, Doku comes on. What impact did he have when he came on? I
think he had a huge impact. So I think for the first little period, maybe he was central, and having lots of bodies around him, I don't think necessarily suits his plus points within a game. But then as the game was starting to get more stretched, in fairness, defensively, he was putting the work in, he was making a few blocks. But there's always going to be a moment where he'd be isolated 1v1 with Porro or with somebody else. And for a long time, you know, it wasn't coming. They were sending over extra players. Skip was coming over and others were coming over. But then in that key moment, it's isolated. And when you think about all the players that City have, if there was one person you want to have with a fullback 1v1 in the box, it's Doku. And he found that, and that made such a big difference for them because as City, as you've rightly mentioned, throughout the game in the second half, City lost control a little bit. Some of it was to do with maybe Kevin not being 100% there after his potential injury, but also the fact that, let's not forget, this game was a must-win for Spurs as well. If they would have won today, then they would have had the chance to finish in the top 4 in the same way that City would have done if they would have won the title potentially. So it mattered. It's their last home game. They're going to go for it, even though there's this idea that the fans don't care, they want Arsenal to lose. That's the feeling they have after the game. It's not the feeling anyone would have during. And I think they were going for it. They were playing good football. Kulusevski came on, made a big difference, stretching the game, and they were testing City. But lo and behold, City found a way, and I think the change for Doku was just as important as it was for Ortega, because now as you look at it, they've both contributed to the two, what's in some big moments that sort of defined how that game went overall.
And that big moment, of course, is Doku wins the penalty towards the end of the game. But I just want to highlight the ball from Foden to Doku. I mean, I don't even know how many yards, 60 yards, whatever that pass was. It was brilliant. And then the way that Doku was able to receive the ball and his sort of calmness running into the box, we needed it at that time.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of bringing a player like Doku on, because they do provide the natural width, and it actually gives everyone else on the pitch the security of knowing that's an out ball that we can use. And when the ball left Foden's foot, I was thinking, what on earth was that? Because I thought that Power had won the race, but he absolutely hadn't. Doku had obviously got there first. And then the rest is magic. You know, he does exactly what he was asked to do. And you could see he knew that that was his assignment, because he went and celebrated to the bench when he won the penalty before it had even been scored, because he knew he'd been sent on with that instruction to stay wide, be an out ball, keep the width, get us something. And he did exactly what he was asked to do, which is the impact of a substitute.
He was fist pumping when it was
awarded.
Yeah, you're right. He looked right over and he was fist pumping. And then Erling Haaland steps up, and I mean, one of the moments of the season, we were arguing about it before the game, the way that he is so cool in that penalty, in that moment, knowing that what was riding on this game. I don't know how anybody can be that cool.
Well, it's because he scored a load of goals. So, yeah, I think he enjoys scoring them. I think, from my standpoint as well, I need to give him credit, because before Phil played the ball, Erling has flicked it to him, you know, from a long ball where he's kind of isolated. I think that was an important step within that. But then when the penalty's there, you know, deep down, you've got all the belief in the world that he's going to score the pen. But you've also got this sort of like past Man City trauma where you think, well, he's probably going to miss and so on.
Yeah.
But I think for people like Erling and others, they don't carry that trauma the same way like a long-serving fan base does. So he's like the exact opposite of me when it comes to penalties, because I worry about missing, whereas for him, I think he's excited about scoring. These younger players at times, the ones who are like the big stars that almost transcend clubs at times, you know, they love it. Here is the ball on the penalty spot in the 90th minute of the game for you to score, to basically seal the game for your team. I'd leave the stadium in fear in case someone picked me, but for him, he's stepping up. He wants it. This is his job. And the way he slapped it in, and he was walking around celebrating, because he knows, like, you know what I mean? He knows how big it is, yeah.
When you get the camera angle from behind the penalty taker, just like seconds before they're about to step and strike the ball, I've never, ever doubted Haaland for 1 second. And I didn't in that moment, and what a clean penalty it was.
Top corner. It's a nice place to put it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, what a moment and what a celebration. You're right. He's the sort of, it was like a smug kind of like...
Listen, if I scored that, I'd be crying. I'll be honest. I'll be completely honest with you.
I was crying and I didn't score it.
It's so much. It's such a big goal. Like my one in Copenhagen, as you say. Yeah.
Yes, of course, you scored in Copenhagen. Just an update on Edison, by the way. Rodri's done a post-match interview where Rodri has said that he believes that Edison has concussion. So if Edison was brought off for concussion, there is a 10-day concussion rule in the Premier League. So that would mean Edison is aware that would be his last game of the season. Maybe that is why he was crying. Yeah. But of course, that will get confirmed in the next.
That's an interesting one.
Also, I was going to say it earlier, but I didn't want to jump to a conclusion that I didn't know. But it's a symptom of concussion to be distressed.
Is it?
I've had it before where you the medics take you off, but you know you want to stay on because it's that like hunger to play. And you can see that was him in that moment.
I think that's worth keeping an eye on as well, because obviously if Ortega plays on the weekend, like we're more than happy with it, and whoever plays in the cup final, you're more than happy with it. But I don't know if Rodri knows that. Maybe he's been told something, but then also we've got to ask a question, well, why did he stay on the field?
Well, that's a very good point, but I've also been there before where I've had concussion, tried to stay on, stayed on, then taken off.
It was,
well, we'll find out. We'll find out in the next couple of days. We wish him all the best. We love him, we adore him. And do you know what else we adore? How the top of the Premier League table looks. So, for the first time, oh my gosh, we're 2 points clear at the top of the Premier League with 1 game to go. Look at that. Manchester City played 37, 88 points. Arsenal played 37, 86 points. So 2 home games on Sunday. They'll kick off at the same time. We have West Ham. They have Everton. We beat West Ham. We win the league 4 in a row. Sounds easy, Nedum.
Yeah, historically, City tend to make it really easy, You know, I think it was only a couple of days ago since it was the anniversary of the famous game in 2012. And then, you know, we look back at the one against Aston Villa as well. It's not necessarily always that simple. Some of the outcomes have been very favourable. But the journey to get there, I think it's definitely like, if you can get a ticket for that game, you have to be there for the potential of what it could be. But you'd like something straightforward, but football never tends to give you that when you feel you deserve it,
It might do this. I've had enough of these last-minute, like, stressful, go-behind games.
Depends how it finishes.
As long as we win.
That's what I mean.
I'd rather just have a day where we all get to party.
That was last season against Chelsea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we just do that again?
I don't think you can. No.
Please. Of course, Matchday Live will be with you on Sunday. If you cannot be at the game, you have to be with us. FG will be pitch side at the Etihad, joined by this guy. You're back. This guy's back with you and with Jolien, if he's speaking to you, because you didn't reply to his texts. And Steph Horton will be there as well. So you have Matchday Live, if you cannot be at the game, is the place to be on Sunday. And of course, if all being well happens, then you will also see all of the celebrations on the pitch after the game as well. But of course, between now and celebrations on the pitch, there is West Ham that stand in our way. There is David Moyes' last game as the manager of West Ham as well. It's been an up and down season for them, Izzy. It's been a weird time towards the end of the season, knowing that David Moyes is going. They've said their goodbyes to him last week on their last home game. Are they on the beach? What sort of game will you be expecting for them?
It's an interesting one because it's almost, as a footballer, when there's complete pressure off you, sometimes you deliver your best. So it'll be an interesting one with West Ham. But, I mean, Manchester City, they've got all the tools to do what they need to do, but it'll be a case of a process of getting it done. And, yeah, I think they'll be champions.
I've just been told that the team that starts the last day of the season at the top of the table has never not won the league.
Wow.
And don't say jinx.
I've not said a word.
I'm
looking at you, but I've not said a word.
I can see it in your eyes.
Listen, do you know, I can't even look at you anymore, but fine.
In terms of West Ham as well, we know that they'll take it seriously. We know that they will be focused. Nothing is done yet.
No.
They've got some serious players. Bowen, Paqueta. They've got some talent on that pitch.
Yeah, Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus. You could say like a Ward-Prowse for his set pieces as well, which they're really dangerous from with the two centre backs, Mavropanos, Ogbonna, people like that. But I think, as Izzy was saying, like, it's Man City at home. You've got so much belief in them. I have belief in them against anybody at home. They make teams suffer in so many different ways. But I think, as Izzy was saying again, the last game of the season, and it's probably different for me because Izzy's probably had more seasons where the last game of the season's had something riding on it. I think there are more players like me who approach that last game and it's almost like a personal pride thing.
Yes.
And with that, you will always give your best, but the opposition have a greater desire because there's something waiting for them at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I think the two teams will match up. If City have an off day, I think West Ham will be able to capitalise. But you don't expect City to have an off day when the target is so clear, it's so obvious, it's so specific, and it's going to be in front of 50,000 fans who are hoping that the team will have the opportunity to make history. So I think this could be a very tough day for West Ham, but I'm sure they'll do their part to try and finish the season well for those travelling fans that will come down.
And let's make some history. 4 Premier Leagues in a row could happen on Sunday if City beat West Ham. So join us on Matchday Live. As always, we will cover everything for you. Before then, though, there is the case of another game that's taking place on Saturday because it is also the finale of the WSL. So City are taking on Villa. Chelsea are taking on Manchester United. So we go away to Villa. Chelsea are away to Manchester United. The game actually is at Old Trafford. So the team's currently on the same points, but of course the goal difference has swung massively in the favour of Chelsea after their 8-0 victory. So going into Saturday, Izzy, how are you feeling? Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that Chelsea will not lose, or do you think Manchester United might do us a favour?
Well, that's a funny one because Chelsea need to beat Tottenham tomorrow night to stay in the fray. If they drop points to Tottenham tomorrow night, things could get very good for City. I do think City will beat Villa on the final day, but assuming that Chelsea do beat Spurs, you are hoping for Manchester United to do Manchester City a massive favour, which I think they could do. I think there's another twist and turn in this. People think it's back in Chelsea's favour, but I think there's a little bit of something else to happen.
At Old Trafford as well?
I don't think United are not going to roll over and have their bellies tickled at Old Trafford. They're the FA Cup winners now, and they're playing in front of their home fans at Old Trafford. They're not going to lie down easily. It's not going to be easy for Chelsea at all. Man City, I think, will do a good job on Villa. So they have to sit back and do their business, control what they can, and wait and see what happens with Chelsea. But the pressure's on Chelsea tomorrow night against Spurs, who've got some good players. Yeah, forgive me. There's no Spurs fans watching this. Forgive me, anybody. I just decided that Chelsea had beaten Spurs. No. Well, you would assume that. One would assume that, definitely. But if they don't, it swings right back into City's favour, and all they need to do against Villa, either way, is win.
But unbelievable, an unbelievable season all round for the women's team. To take it to the last day of the season is just phenomenal, and I cannot wait, and I hope they're all exceptionally proud of themselves whatever happens. Matchday Live will be here with you on Saturday. I will be here in the studio with Tash Harding and with Brian Barry Murphy, and FG will be pitch side at Villa Park with Karen Bardsley. So that is taking place on Saturday. Before then, the new home kit will be released. That is taking place on the 16th. So when is the 6th? Is that Thursday? Thursday or Friday? Friday, the new home kit comes out. You'll be able to see on Friday what it really does look like. So, Nedum, thank you very much for being here. Izzy, thank you very much for being here. Thank you. What a day. Thank you all for joining us on Matchday Live. Thank you to Ali Mann, thank you to Michael Brown, to Paul Dickoff and to FG as well. And thank you all for being here. What an incredible evening. What an emotional evening, Blues. We are just one more game, one Premier League victory away from winning the Premier League again. Oh, my goodness, what a time to be a Manchester City fan. I cannot wait for Sunday. I'm counting the days down. We will be here with you then. Enjoy your week, Blues. Walk around with your heads held high. We will see you at the weekend.